Hello, and welcome back to another insightful episode of Creatives Chat. Peter, why don't you introduce our guest?
Ooh, Rusty. Our guest is the queer Kurismo, a curandero, spiritual healer, and life coach who comes from a line of spiritual healers in Texas. Located at the Four Sisters Holistic Remedies in Renton, Washington, his work includes limpias, energy cleanses, egg cleanses, banishing ceremonies, spirit alignment, tarot readings, and working with ancestors. I'm really excited to have our mutual brother on the show, Joselito Castillo.
All right, everybody, join us as Peter and Joselito chat about who knows what. Streaming from Retro Earth Studio and brought to you by
wearehistorically.com. Conscious human apparel.
Level up your life and raise your vibration with specialized Fibonacci tuning forks. Get your vibrational sound tools for your personal enhancement at energybodytuners.com. We good to go. Oh, brother Joselito, man, I'm so excited for this. How have you been, man?
I've been so good. So many wonderful things. Lots of beautiful, just blessings all around. It's feeling good. It's feeling good, papi. Right here, mira. It's feeling good.
Well, the queer Kurismo himself. I'm so curious just to really get this thing going with. I think it's probably the most important question for the audience. Who are you and what do you do?
My name is Joselito Flores del Castillo. Okay, now, what am I? Like, I am a curandero. I am a spiritual healer. I am a dancer, producer. I'm of everything. I love all of it, all of the energy. Okay, but my main thing right now is curando. And I come from a line of curanderos on my mother's side of the family. My abuelito's name is Eliseo and Flores. And wow, as a little kid, I would just be in amazement just watching him heal people, give advice, come up with little pomaditas, little salves and blessings. And I saw it all, the egg wash and all of that stuff. So it would be a lot later that I would really come into myself and go, wow, that's in me as well. And it would take a lot of self-learning, rediscovering, especially with a queer word, the gay thing and the religion. Oh, I've been all over. So finding that journey and then coming back to what this is about is the story. Woo!
Oh, and I just got to let the listeners know, I had the great honor of meeting Joselito in really getting ready for the men's gathering and sacred circle that I established, building brotherhood. And you serve as that. For the listeners, a curandero is like a Latin American shaman. It's like that spiritual anchor for the community. And he really is that for our group. And it's one of the things that it was a wild experience my first time meeting you. And I just always want to bring a little bit of these insights to the listeners, because the banishing ceremonies, the energetic cleansings, the just reading the energy and listening to the ancestors and what spirit's telling you. You were a nail on the head, never even met you, went in cold, had no idea. And it was just the most wild experience, feeling the shift. And most importantly, that relief.
Wow, thank you.
And for others to understand the type of experiences you can really witness through this type of healing is that feeling when you say something that's been on your chest and you just, that weightlessness, that's like, that times 1,000 is what you experience with these energetic ceremonies and just the work that you get with this blessing of a soul. So I want to dive right into it. Like, what was that like growing up, seeing that?
It was amazing. Like, we lived in a ranchito. My grandfather lived in a little ranch, right? And he was in charge of like we call it asadoneando, right? Hoeing the cotton, right? And so he managed the teams out there in the cotton fields, okay?
Wow.
But he was also a healer at night. And people would come to his little ranchito, and my aunt would sweep what you would call a front yard, but it was Texas. It was dried up, right? Solo que no había nada. I mean, there was no grass, okay? And so she would sweep and make a parking lot. And like twice a year, it would be quite an honor as a kid to, look from the cotton fields way like half a mile down, because it's Texas, right? It's flat. You could see the headlights from these cars coming to see my abuelito, my grandfather. And my grandmother had the mints out, and she had like all of the things to bring that space, that comfort, that love, so that he could go into his cuartito, his room, like you walked into my room, his cuartito, to hold space, love. My favorite was when the ladies would come in and the husbands would physically deliver these beautiful women with heartaches or what have you. And they would come in and go, my grandfather, yo no sé qué tiene, I don't know what's happening. And he would hand the wife over to my grandfather, and he would take her into that room. I'd run around the back and put my ear against the wall, and you could hear her going, and doing all of that. And then you could hear this mumble. En sabor, en gracias, very calm. Wow. And then you could hear her just calm down. And then I would run back the other way. He'd open the door, and he would deliver the wife back to the husband. And even as I speak that right now, that story, se me abre el corazón. My heart just opens up, because that's my abuelo, that's my grandpa. And those are the little things. I witnessed a lot of things, but those are some of the magical moments that I witnessed. And the communication of Joselito, I need 3 rocks, but he wouldn't tell me, he would show me. I learned how to read zigzag, okay? And it was great, because my mom and my dad converted into Mormonism when I was 1. And they were convinced, you're not a Mormon. They told me at 3, 4 years old. My grandparents would say, you're not a Mormon. What would you like in your coffee? Kind of a thing, right? And so these are just those beautiful memories of being with my gente, your abuelitos, I even ran away from home to go be with them, because there was such a connection. Una conexión con la tierra. And what I think is really interesting too is there was a hole to the right side of his ranchito, and they dig a rock there called caliche. And caliche, they use it on the road so that the cars don't get stuck, right, in the dirt roads. So it's called caliche. And it was a hole, and it must have been maybe 8-10 feet going down, and that's where everybody would go to just hang out, talk sometime. And I'm thinking now, we were grounding. Wow.
Oh, next level. Next level.
We were going into the pozo. Okay.
Wow.
So when you go into and that's why the dirt means so much. I love all the elements, pero mira, la tierra, uy, papi, forget about it. Porque la tierra is the dirt. That's where you come from. Mama Earth. La madre, So, so I got to witness a lot of really cool stuff.
Well, that's the thing that kind of gets me is, you grow up with this kind of 2 feet in different doorways. You have this very almost, tunnel vision. And this isn't any knock in terms of the Mormon religion. It's more so just the strictness of it and the rigidity of it is very focalized. And then you have this kind of complete polar opposite, holistic oneness back with the earth, the old lessons of the ancestors that's been passed down. Like, how does that even how do you even process like spirituality or your own beingness as a kid, like with that type of an influence?
Lo que pasa allí, what happens there, amigo, is how do you convince people that you were born to love and that you are made of love and that you have love to give? How do you convince people about that when you are 2, when you are 3? I don't know, mamas. All I know is that I'm feeling love for you. But the conditioning came in really quickly for me. And I love the fact that I started questioning things in my life immediately. Question immediately. That doesn't look right. Mommy, papi, can you explain it? Can you explain it to me? Because it doesn't It doesn't make sense.
Gosh, yeah.
So at a very young age, I started questioning authority and watching the way that our women, were being treated. Híjole, you know? And my grandfather was completely the opposite. He was just like, abre ese corazón, bring that heart. Let's heal. Let's fix these things. And not fix as in like you know, allowing, that's a better word. Allow the healing to happen so that we can move forward. Okay.
Yeah. That holding of space and that just really purely allowing things to flow.
Allowing, papi, allowing las cosas que son de veras. I remember so many times him with his leg crossed with his fly swatter. Chica-patumpa, chuk. You know, and we're looking out and we're thinking the same thought. We're looking out to that Texas sky and we're looking out there and he just looks at me and I know it's time to go get 3 rocks because he's got to bless them. Okay, because you gotta remember there were no crystal, you know, oh, let's go to the holistic store. Let's just go shopping for the little crystal. No había nada de eso. And I think that that's why it's so important. My message is muy importante to be authentic to the self, the root, and remembering that the ancestors, I'm having a conversation with my grandfather recently, like in the last year or so. Okay, because I talk to him every day. Okay, Mira. Okay, and I'm saying to him, "Oh my gosh, Grandpa, I know I have this Buddhist altar, and I really love what the Nam Myoho Renge Kyo Hoben Bondaini did for my life, and I love the Mother Mary, and now I got it, and now the Jesus, and he goes, hey." When he goes, hey, muchacho, I know it's all serious. Oh, I better listen. And he says to me, mijo, religions are windows for people to look out of. And there's a different view, okay? And he goes, he just filled my heart with so much love. You know, and especially putting queer in front of Kurismo, right? What was my family gonna think? I mean, that's a big word, even though it's a big word, okay? Pero la cosa es bien simple. It was very simple. He said, these are windows for people to look out of. I don't care what you put in front of Kurismo. You gotta get busy. You gotta do the work. And then he said to me, now, please go put something pretty on that little altar of yours, that Buddhist altar. That's a beautiful way of looking at life. And I'm like, and he also said, and I know about the cell phones. You can tell everybody about that. You know, in other words, they don't move on. And I also asked him about, well, Abuelito, you know, you used to charge this much, and what do I charge? And I go to him. He goes, hey, Joselito, it's not 1920 here, okay? It's not 1930. It's not even 2010.
Right.
Okay.
Worlds are changing.
Right. And they know, you know, that's what's the beauty of connecting with them and the beauty of having them around you. And that's so China City. I could tell you about that.
Well, let's dive right into it, because one of the things that I've found is one of the many abilities you have is just that ancestral connection. And it's something that I've really appreciated and valued in your insights and just the work and seeing you do your healing and your powers and abilities. It's inspired me to have that deeper connection. And even today, you know, it was my dad's birthday today, passed about, you know, in September. So even today was just like having a little brief chat, checking in and tapping in and just feeling the energetic shifts and the pulls and the ability that this type of intangible connection has with people. Man, it's hard to be even put into words, but when you can connect on those bridges of the heart and they never go away, it's really wild and beautiful and trippy all at the same time.
It's a beautiful trip, Papi. Papi Chulo, surrender to the love. Surrender to that is, because you're working for the greater good of all, you know? I knew the moment my grandfather came, he passed away in 87. Híjole. I'm going to tell you, he shows up and I ran back in the house. I said, this square ain't going nowhere. It's going inside. Okay. And then I just felt him. I couldn't be at the funeral. And I was like, oh, but he showed up. He showed up. I freaked out. But when my grandmother passed away in 90, now that was a different story. Okay. She shows up as a little light because she knows I'm a big chicken. You know, I don't want to see no ghosts. No, don't, you know, and especially after all of that religion and all of that, you know, all of that perception of what you're supposed to see. And if you're seeing it, it's evil, blah, blah, blah. And here comes this beautiful golden light. And it was very tender, very tender. She knows I'm a big chicken, right? And so she just shows up, but I reached towards that light and immediately it was her hand. And let me tell you something. Let me tell you something about the grandmas. You don't forget they're imprinted. They're imprinted. Now, she says to me, hey, look, mijo, it's me. And I was like, oh my God, I got so excited. And I'm like, oh, I got excited. I turned 7 again, right? 7 again. And she brought this whole piece. She had just passed away. And she brought this piece. And she says to me, mijito, cálmate, stay calm. You're okay. It's me. But she was telling me all of these things that I was asking her. And my partner, which I'm still with my partner, Randy, was next to me. And while I was having this vision and this experience in front of me, I scratched his arm all the way down as proof for the next day so that I would know that this actually happened, right? Like I was like, right? While I'm focusing on my abuelita, I'm doing this to his arm, right? Like
no idea of sense and strength.
Right, exactly. And then she said, we're fine. We're closer than you think we are. 90% of the time, she said, we're here to guide and love, but I do have a message for you, my son. She said, I do have a message for you. You need to go and tell your mother that I'm okay. And I said, okay. Now, I have the relationship with my abuelita that they would pull us apart and I would cry. That was the old, I don't want my abuela and I'm going to run away from home. I ran away from home numerous times to go be with them.
Yeah.
So then I started to get emotional. She goes, now, calm down. She calmed me down. No, don't leave. It just, don't leave me here in this world. I don't
the
know.
inner child came back out.
I don't know the queerty about this. She's like, you're fine. You're going to be okay. So the next, I call my mom at about 4:00 in the morning and I go, Mommy, because my mom and I we struggle with this relationship. Okay. We struggle. I'm going to be honest. And I said, Mommy, I got a message from you, I called my dad and my dad goes, yes, I'll get her up. It was like 4:00 in the morning, whatever. So she gets her up and he gets her up. And I said, Mom, I have a message from you from abuelita. She goes, a ver, mijo. A ver, tell me. But, and I said, she wants you to know que está bien. She goes, ándale. Abuelita told me, ándale, mijo, ve dile a tu mamá que estoy bien. Go tell your mom that I'm fine. And so she goes, qué bueno, mijo, thank you. And she went back to sleep. So my dad called me. My dad called me the next day and he goes, son, what was that about? And I said, well, that's between me and my mom. My mom and my grandmother. I said, but you are my dad. So maybe I could, because I was deciding whether or not to tell him, right?
Yeah.
And I said, okay, I'll share this with you. And I said, she told me to tell my mom, mi madre, that she's okay and not to worry. And then my dad, there was silence on the phone for a minute. And then he said, thank you, mijito. Yesterday, she wanted to dig your grandmother up out of the grave. She wanted to wrap her in blankets and feed her soup. So my mother was losing it, okay?
Wow.
And she came to me to give that message, and then she calmed down.
Yeah.
After that, 1990, I started making 2 cups of coffee for my abuelo and my abuela, okay?
Yeah.
On special occasions. I wasn't making it every other day. I was just making it on special occasions, but I just wanted to connect back with them. But it took up until slowly just, oh, I'm going to buy this velita. Why am I buying that Virgen? Why do I love this Virgen so much? It's so my grandfather, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, oh my gosh, okay. And you talk a lot, Papi, about the Christ-like love.
Yeah.
And that was stripped because you've got to love Christ one way or hit the highway, right? And those were the mixed emotions and what have you. But when I think about that experience with my ancestors, then the other ancestors started coming through. Woo, child, I'm up to 53 cups of coffee, okay? 53 cups of coffee every other day, okay?
But that type of reverence and appreciation and gratitude, it's how I like to see praise. And how I define praise is gratitude through action. And when we find that we shift our life into that realm of praise, it not only strengthens the connection, but it's also like, okay, you're ready. You get this divine nectar of experience that it just kind of keeps pouring into your cup and overflowing, because it's like, okay, you're now that conduit, you're now that bridge. Help us shine that love. And that Christ love is really just that everything that all these religions and teachings are trying to get us to wake up to is just that divine love of source, that divine love of like our pureness. And just to see your connection with it, like, when did it start? I mean, how does it evolve from 2 to 53? Like, when did that start? And when did it, like, when did you start noticing that? I need to do it.
When on their birth, I didn't even know their birthdays. To be honest with you, like, I've just been doing this. The other day I had a conversation with my honey, okay? And we've been together for 34 years this July, okay? 34.
Ooh, congratulations.
Muchas groceries. Thank you for that. But I'm going to tell you something. I don't, I said the other day to him, honey, I burn candles, and he goes, you've been doing that since I met you. And I go, oh, it evolves, it attaches, it becomes another extension of love. It becomes, you want to do this. It becomes a conversation. It becomes no longer what you doubted. It becomes the truth. Stop. Because I can hear my tia Florinda in the kitchen going, where's the white? We're late. Where's the white apron? Let's get it on. Let's go. We got to get rolling here. As soon as little by little, it started happening. And then, so what happened was I added grandma and grandpa first. And then the cousins that were passing away in the moment, like, for example, I would lose a cousin. I would pay honor, and then I would put their cup of coffee on the altar. And then they started going, hey. And so we started this connection like, hey, Jody's got coffee. Yo, Jody's got cafecito bien calientito for us. And that is they never left. They've never left, in here and even physically. I mean, I see them, I feel them. It's amazing. So it does evolve, but it's kind of funny that you should bring it up, because even as you bring it up, I go, yeah, how did I go from 2 to 53, right? But it is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And then what to do with the coffee, I didn't know what to do with the coffee,
Yeah.
What do you,
3 cups just.
But I
drink it all.
But you got to remember, I'm not drinking. I'm setting them on the altar, right? So I'm setting those 53.
It's for them.
Right, it's for them. And then when you figure out how they partake of that coffee, you got to shut up. Okay, and I say that with love, okay, y'all, because I'm just getting excited. That's híjole, me pongo bien excited. When I had the experience of leaving my body, it felt like this. Like I left little traces, seriously, and then back together and boom, okay?
Yeah.
And I was, wow. Now, when I look at the coffee cups, at first when I started putting the coffee cups on the altar, I'm like, do I need to mix it? And I love black coffee for all of them, even though they did some, because they remember that smell of the earth waking them up before the sugar, before the creamer. They remember that smell. So they go, woo, okay? Now then, papi, lo que pasa con la taza de café is I remembered that I did this when I left my body and I was still intact and nothing could, erase parts of me. Oh, it's a crazy feeling, baby. It's a crazy feeling. But when I remember now, or when I see it, is they go into the cup of coffee and they just oh yes, honey, it's a spirit. It ain't no ghost going, oh. Because I was tripping out. I was going, okay, so they're all gonna lift their cups at the same time. Oh my goodness. Oh my God. No, puppy. But I do want to share this. I've seen the coffee go down in front of me. Okay. I've actually seen the coffee just get absorbed. Okay.
Ooh, that energetic aspect. Energy first. So they take the energy from it. Of course they take the physical representation of it.
And then my gosh. And then when they do that, and then I was doing it every day and I was missing the messages in the cups. Okay. So
this is just so much joy from the heart right now. Okay. You have no idea. This is so powerful.
So, I had no idea because I was just trying to do my thing. And now you got to remember, I didn't take a class on this. I didn't go get certified for this, puppy. You know what I'm saying? And everything I've been asking Abuelito, how do I do this? How do I do that? And he's been telling me. Grandma tells me when to get in the car and we got to go to the thrift store. Okay. Mm-hmm. She goes, you need to find these things. Let's go get them. So she sends me and I got to go. Feeling, understanding, connecting. So the cups of coffee, I was doing them every day because I wanted to connect. And thank God I did it for like a year and a half every day. Look, no. I'm just being nice. 2 years. Okay. Every day. Okay.
Wow.
Then I decided to take all this coffee cup to the mountain. I'm going to take it to the mountain and tell everyone, aquí en la montaña te dejo. I was going to be like all shamanic and get all crazy on up in this, right? And I go up there, and the cool thing is that I started burning some resin, and there was a little cove, underneath the mountain. And so I was there. But the really cool thing is, as I went to go I went up the mountain to pour the coffee, but this beautiful resin, this smoke followed me up to the top. I was like, hey now. But I was, at that point, you just feel all parts of your body, just, you explode. And then the sacral chakra, it's like a little kid going on a roller coaster, the fun excitement. Right? The fun. Ooh, let's go. We're gonna get on the roller coaster. We're gonna have fun. So I get up there and I do this big ceremony and I just, aquí está la tacita de café, aquí, and I was trying to get into that power, right? So I come back home and I pull into the driveway and then I hear, hey, muchacho. Oh shit, that's grandpa. What did I do wrong? He's like, hey, muchacho. He goes, ese cafecito, thank you for taking us to the montaña, but that's not where that coffee goes. And I went, he goes, este cafecito es para proteger tu casa. This coffee is to protect your home. Yeah. Just because in the morning, this is funny, this is so Tex-Mex. I pour all the little cups of coffee into a Kool-Aid jug, a plastic Kool-Aid jug, okay? We love Kool-Aid as kids, honey, okay? El Kool-Aid.
Oh, yeah.
And I pour it in there, and then I go to my front yard, and then I pour it into the yard, okay? Pour the coffee into the side of the yard or whatever. And he just reassured me, that's where this coffee goes. We've blessed it. We've been there. And so this just protects your home. And I went, oh. And then he also said, look inside the cup. And there for about 2 weeks, no kidding you, Papi, no te echo la mentira. La pura verdad. Honey, I looked in the cups and they all had the Sacred Heart in the middle. All of the cups of coffee had the Sacred Heart in the middle. So what you gonna do? I bawl like a baby because I'm lifted and it feels so beautiful. And I think that everybody has the capability of connecting with that. It's not as difficult. Maybe they don't have to do the coffee, but I love that because I remember people getting ready. I remember doors slamming in and out. Are we going to the pozo? Let's go to the hole, that whole beautiful thing. But the coffee is very sacred to me, to the Kurismo. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Ooh. Well, it's all about that ritual that speaks to your heart, that practice that really resonates with your shine. And that was one of the most powerful insights. And again, this is just to give the listeners a little bits of those sprinkles of knowledge on Joselito and the experience of working with this beautiful being, is that you have this moment where I go into our session where we were first meeting each other to talk about building brotherhood. And I remember really meditating a lot those previous days of, okay, well, how should I do this? Going all the different rituals and different protocols for ceremonies and things. And literally like the first thing you said to me after we sat down was just like, do it your way. I don't know what they're saying, but just keep doing it your way. You're thinking too much. Just listen to yourself and trust your heart. They'll guide you. And I was like, oh, I started laughing, I believe. And you're just like, yeah. And I was just like, I totally get it. I know exactly what you're talking about. Nail on the head.
We're so busy. We're so busy trying to do the right work, papi. All of us healers, Kurismos, and the Reiki work, everybody, that we forget that sometimes we're just comparing a little bit. Maybe we don't mean to compare. Maybe we don't mean to compare, but then all of a sudden, well, she did. And eso es lo que me dice mi abuelo. See, even now my grandfather is going, nada de eso, none of that. Okay. I recently went back to Texas, to get more recipes from my grandfather because my tia, Tules, love it. She gave me a couple of recipes and I started using them, and alcoholitos, compuestos, agüita, spiritual waters, And I went to get all these recipes. So I show up early this month, right? And I show up with my pencil and she goes, okay, what about this? I'm already doing it. What about this, Joselito? I'm already doing it. What about this, Jose? She just went down the list and I am doing it because I am connected with him.
Yeah.
And there was a reading done back in the 80s that I had when I moved to Seattle back in 83. And this dance student of mine couldn't afford a dance class. So we swapped. She was a reader. She did a crystal readings or whatever. And I just kind of did my eye roll. Like, yeah, okay, whatever. But okay. Well, you know what she tells me in that reading? She says, you've been in every lifetime with your grandfather. Okay, this is back in, I didn't put the two together. I didn't put that reading together until like 2 years ago, okay?
Yeah, that's how it always works, right? It's just like, it's over their head now, but it'll hit them in the face when they're ripened for it.
Right. So I'm already doing all of the things. And I went to go see a curandero here in Seattle, and a big deal, right? And I just went, because I wasn't, first of all, I want to thank you for the men's circle because it's brought me in to work with that masculine, feminine, and how to work with that and how to embrace that and be, that's a great experience. But I wanted to go to this guy just to see, am I on the right track? Because I've just been talking to the dead. Okay.
Yeah.
And I walk in and this guy goes, yeah, I'll see you. He goes, but it's a waste of time. And I went, excuse me? And he said, you have no fear. You look at death in the face. You're not afraid. He just told me all of the things, and he goes, and you've got a great light behind you. And he says, and you have a tall man with a black cowboy hat that follows you all the time. Hi, Welo. Okay.
Right? Oh my gosh.
So, and he goes, you need nothing. He goes, you keep doing what you do. And that's that. I was expecting him to go, well, let's see, let's shift you here and let's burn this. Nada de eso. He goes, you're doing what you need to be doing now. Please give me $50 and you may leave and don't come back. You know what to do. Pretty much.
Highlight that. Don't come back.
Yeah, pretty much.
You got it. Well,
Pretty
that right there is the sense of trust in, even when we don't know, that aspect of all these different events. You touched on it briefly, but you left your prestigious dance world. And how did that come from this aspect of, even from going from a little kid in Texas dealing with this spiritual battle, this spiritual pull, into dance, into transitioning out of that into now healing? Like, what? Where does the transition arise?
So remember, I talked about the spirit being in two places at once. Okay.
Yeah.
Coming together. I realized now what I was doing through my dance classes. I was studying the way spirit moves in different bodies.
You needed the field experience.
And do I want to go back and teach a dance class? No, because the work is done there. Do I want to choreograph and be an artist that way? Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. But go back to teaching and really dissecting the book. All of this shelf back there is all books on dissecting movement. Chapters and chapters on just from the elbow to the fingertips and how that moves. Okay.
Yeah.
How to disperse the energy. So what I really learned about all of that sacred movement is that it was sacred to begin with, that it is movement, that it is expressive, that it is out of body, and that we're in these bodies and that we're held back. That's why dancers are so limited. And we're so mad at that, because we're so free in the air when we're jumping and leaping that we have to freaking, are you kidding me? We got to come back, you know? That's hard. Okay.
Yeah.
And what was really beautiful about that is now I feel like a beautiful Wizard of Oz in the most positive sense. Like I can see someone come in. Like, for example, when you came into the room, I've studied dance enough to know and speaking positively, okay, this is this body frame and this works this way. So these are the touches that I'm going to apply. And this is how I'm going to caress that energy to keep it intact and to keep it there. Okay. So that it can receive the right light at the right. So it's all positive manipulation of the soul. And I am so honored to be doing that with people. Like, I mean, it's so fun.
It's wild. It's wild. It blows my mind.
Yeah, it's so fun. It's so fun.
I gotta say, like, that aspect right there of these messages coming full circle, these experiences from decades ago, you know, really coming to full manifestation, fruition, like 2 years ago. Like, you know, you see this span, this jump, this leap. Internally, when did it really switch for you that it was like, oh, this has been my calling, like all my life?
When did it switch? I hit rock bottom. I had to and then my grandfather shows up when I hit rock bottom. Another sign, right? But not knowing, like I had to I pulled myself apart and I could only work in single words. That's why now single words are very important to me. They're very powerful. Okay.
Yeah.
And I had a dance studio, a partner. I had some money coming in, but what was missing? Oh my gosh. Oh, it was a hassle. Everything was a freaking hassle.
Yeah, it wasn't effortless.
It was a hassle. So I went to Hawaii and I just started to really, I wasn't grateful for anything. I wasn't grateful for the trip. I wasn't grateful for my Randy. I wasn't grateful for that beautiful palm tree that was out in front of me. I wasn't the waves coming to me. It was such a hassle. It's so hot.
Oh, paradise.
Right. Ugh. I took a notebook and I sat under a palm tree and I cried. I just shed. And then all of a sudden, I started writing single words. Fish, tree, light, happy, sandals, words, sky, clouds. And then I wrote so hard that I would go to sleep and then rub my hands against it to feel that imprint of those words. And I would sleep with it on my chest and look at that palm tree. And then I went and I started talking to the palm tree. Help me, I said. Oh my gosh, I get a little emotional because I realize what I was doing now, even as I'm speaking to you. Help me, because God is still not loving me. I'm still queer. I'm still not, I know that I'm okay, but I'm not okay. I am about percentage love. My parents love me 80% today, 20% tomorrow. I don't know what percentage I'm at. Okay.
Yeah.
Palm tree, it's your turn. What is your, when you go with tears to a palm tree, what is your percentage for me of love?
Ooh.
And the palm tree just goes, all of it. And then all of a sudden, this breeze started to come through. And I that's where I started healing myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like feeling it. I'm just like, oh.
And that's why, papi, I go back to Mother Nature, mijo. Por eso, mijo, yo me voy. And then my Mary, my Virgen of Guadalupe, you know, because, mijo, walk the land, take your shoes off, go back. No, listen to what that bird is saying. Don't just say the bird flew. Don't be one-dimensional, mijo, in your thinking.
Yeah.
Tell me about that bird now, Joselito. Oh, the bird, the love flew by and spread its hope and joy upon all of us and nourished itself while it was doing so. That is the bird I saw today, as opposed to the bird flew by and it was white. Okay?
Yeah. The lens of love.
The lens of love. Oh my gosh. Let's write a musical, The Lens of Love.
I love it.
You know? So that was that moment where, and then I looked at my beautiful partner and I said, we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. Then that trip, I went back to the beach and I lit 3 Virgen of Guadalupe candles on the beach. They burned. I played Mexican Tex-Mex music out there. And it just started to come together.
Wow. It comes full circle though, that word of allowing, you know, the surrender to really experience, we have to entertain and put ourselves in that position. And the thing that I love too is the processing in real time. You see these kind of full circle moments where you have that realization purely in this moment of now, and it just kind of puts that thread and pieces all these different experiences and memories together. You're just like, and then it's just a new memory, and it's just like, oh, I get it now. Even more process of refinement keeps
even more
back.
Yeah, absolutely, papi. I am about the dissect of the dissect of the dissect. And not only that, but it's not to dissect and be all, I told you I got ammunition. No. How much deeper can I go with this word? How can I put it in my DNA, in my sangre? How do I put those palabras, that energía, en el Kurismo de Joselito? Como cada cosa, everything that I touch, I bless, because it was given to me. I'm sorry. And I say to those evil forces, because sometimes they're out there and I go, I must have done something really pretty. I must have done something really pretty that you want me. I go, and I've had those things gnarl at me. And I'm going, really? Really? Sometimes I'll go to a cleansing of a home or an entity or whatever, and I do my thing. I give myself 4 hours and I say, Mira, look, I'm going to do this prayer. all y'all badass spirits, y'all have 2 hours to get the hell out of there. Because when I get there, I'm a kung fu your ass. Do you understand? Do you understand that?
Yeah.
And then I show up. But what I love more than anything is to watch people take their power back. And like I've actually had my first home clearing, there was this thing in the house and it was just so ugly. I could feel it. It was just ugly that I brought a white sheet and I just said to him, you just step on this white sheet. But you do not leave this white sheet. Okay. So then I did some blessings or whatever. And this thing was just gnarly. Okay. Now this is my first experience, right? So then I show up and I'm kicking ass and we're going up the stairs, right? And then all of a sudden we're going into this guy's bedroom, right? And it was just all of a sudden, papi, no te echo mentiras, I felt all my angels and my spirit guides behind me. And they were just, let's walk up the stairs. We got you. And then, papi, here's what happened. The guy that I was cleaning the home for, right, doing the home, he came out from the back, ran in front of us and started tearing it down and started saying, you don't belong here. Get out. And he started ripping apart his bedroom and throwing shit out the window.
Wow.
And but I love that part because me and my spirit guide, we just stepped back and watched him take control of his space again.
Ooh. Well, even that, the ownership of your energy field, the ownership of your space. And you said something again that has always really stuck with me. And it was one of those kind of impulses that I've always had. But when you said it was again one of those moments where people just validate the things you know, and you're just like, I know that. I know that.
Right,
and it's like the aspect of tarot. And even it's just like not just blindly and willingly accepting what spirit will say or suggest. It's like, no. Like sometimes it's meant to challenge us and be like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take my power back. And that's something that I always find is just like, yes, this is a real one. Real recognizes real. It's just like, I feel that.
I love when people come in and go, I have things attached to me. And I go, well, how much more do you want to carry this? Right. How much more do you want to carry this? Another week? Okay. Okay. I try everything. I said, no, you didn't try anything. I'm going to be boldly honest with you. Okay. I go, do you feel it? Do you feel it right now? No, but and I've had clients say, it's waiting outside out the door.
Ooh,
okay.
That's an interesting one.
And that I believe that. They're not allowed in my space. I will, no. One time I was doing a healing and my grandfather just went, we stop here and we exit this client out of this room. Okay. The client started getting really greedy with the spirits and going, I need to know, and started getting really demanding. And the pendulum wouldn't move. My fingers, I couldn't shuffle cards for this person. And Willow goes, enough.
Wow.
Enough. And then came back and apologized. And then the energy was different.
See, that's interesting right there. But the core essence of this that really just speaks true, the one word that just came in was gratitude. Just really, gratitude is one of these biggest shifts that when we allow ourselves to see the light and to see the love, it just is like, oh, you see us? And then it just starts to unfold even more.
Right. So I think moving through, one of the things that I'm so passionate about softly now is my space like my grandfather's, where you could walk into this room and he wouldn't let us in and we'd sneak in when he wasn't watching. Lush red carpet, beautiful candles, beautiful things around. Is that how my client feels? Do they feel secure in that space? Yeah. Do they feel love in there? And 90% of the time, over 90% of the time, the client feels so much lighter. They're like, why do I feel so light? You know, and it's just because I didn't do the work. I helped you, but you shifted. You shifted to the light, puppy.
Yeah,
And
that willingness.
That willingness. Yep, absolutely. So when it comes to Kurismo, curando, whether it's, you know, with the hierbas, my favorite hierba is the laurel, the English laurel. And even though we do use in the Mexican tradition some type of laurel as well. And if you excuse me for a quick second, quick second.
Yeah.
I've used these before. There's nothing like this. There's nothing like this. Something that's alive, that's caressing you, that's blessing you. It takes me back to that palm tree. It takes me back to that palm tree. And sometimes with the client, we know exactly where it needs to go. Okay? We know exactly where it needs to go. And then you just start to feel this embrace from Mother Nature, you know? And then you start to use all of the tools, you know? And like I was saying earlier, it's kind of like the Wizard of Oz in a positive sense, right? Like, hey, I do have something for you. It's your love. Ooh, papi. It's your own love. Look at how beautiful it suspends in the air.
Yeah.
Look at how beautiful it shines and it radiates.
Yo, okay, so it's so great. So the download that just came in is just from the experiences and just the recognition of it. And, you know, all facilitators, all healers, you know, it's really just a game of us helping the individual awaken their own ability to heal, that remembrance, holding space so they could hold space for themselves, really. And it was just this whole like master of energy and emotion, or, you know, we can call that like you could say emotions really are just energy and movement, you know, and just to see the aspect of your own background from the dancing to just really just this deep connection with spirit, with earth, with ancestry, with that lineage that you've really just seen evolve more and more as we just dance throughout this process of time. I just see this as kind of the new approach to how we perceive energy, you know, and that's one of the things that I found is, because for me, it was just like, oh, this is why we connected. He's another revolutionary of the energetic healing. And it set in with the first building brotherhood when I was asking everyone, like, what was your guys' experience? What was your guys' experience? And every one of us, when you brushed the laurels across and you said the blessing, it was just like this, just, something left me. I don't know what left me, but you're all getting the same thing. You're all seeing the same aspect. So the fact that you're using nature to then heal nature itself and have that recycle and again and just be healed through the laurel, be brushed away and banished off of our beingness. I mean, it's to me, man, where I'm like, this is the bee's knees. Like, why are we not taught this, like as youth, to heal ourselves, to use nature as that tool that it is to master our own abilities to heal? Like, oh.
I was so afraid of ego as a performer, as an Aquarian, that it was going to get in the way, right? And I'm emotional right now because when you talk about the experience of that banishing or that ceremony that I do, I'm so zoned in that I don't see that. I just know that I've got to get to the work. I just know that I got to make it around to that circle. But to hear you describe it that way brings such warmth to my heart that it's coming from sincerity and it's not coming from Joselito. It's not like, oh, no. And my grandfather's always about, this is not about you. You got to remember, you got to turn the entertainer off. Turn the entertainer off. And that is, I think that there, as an artist, as a dancer, that applause as a gay kid was God, because it was society accepting anything that I could do. Okay, and so if I made people if I danced for people and they loved it and they clapped, It didn't matter that I was gay. It didn't matter. It
Mm.
didn't matter. They were just loving from here, right? And so I became very addicted to that applause. Okay.
Wow, yeah.
But now the applause is silent.
Yeah.
And it vibrates like you have no idea. Like, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So it's an honor to do that. And then again, to bring that, Joselito, it's okay for you, papi, to be in a room full of men. It's all right now.
Mm.
It's all right. Because that what I have experienced with you and your circle. Now you got to understand that you're the first men's circle I've ever been to. Okay, the first one. Okay. So what I experienced there was not what I thought. Okay, I had, and I'm not saying that I was being negative. I was like, oh gosh, how many Butch Cassidy and Sundance kids, and how much of this butchness and freaking ball scratching, and oh my God, do we have to talk about football? Because you know what? Hey, you don't see it's really funny because I don't let my partner wear any Seahawks stuff. Nothing. That's not allowed. And he's like, he's not a big fan either, but I'm like, no quiero ver nada de eso. No lo quiero ver. Hey, and then so I thought it would be something like that, like
tailgate, spiritual tailgate.
Oh my God. Did I laughed with a bunch of joy. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Like, all these brothers, we need healing, y'all. Come on now, Joselito. Don't be scared of what you can provide and what you can receive, right?
Bam.
And then again, too, like when I have the client, because I have to be open to all of these different points of views. Like I had a Trump lover come in, or politically, but I have to be neutral, right? And the client goes, "You're not gonna make a move on me, are you?" And I said to the client, "You're not my type, baby. You're not hot. As a matter of fact, you're not hot at all. So are we ready to work on this or not? Do you want to work or not?"
Slap of truth.
But I want to tell you this right now, babe. He's now a regular, okay?
Yeah.
Beautiful person now. And educating. Oh, Joselito, I didn't know that. I didn't know that, that gays are, they're not after everything or what have you. And his way of speaking, was just like, okay, this is a newbie, right?
Yeah.
At the end, I tell them, how do you feel, papi? I always use that papi word. How do you feel? Oh, I feel really good. Okay. Take that love onto yourself and let's move on, kind of a thing. Because we all need that, right? We all need to love. And I think as I'm learning about my own masculinity and how to balance the femininity and all of that stuff, it's like I can walk into a room now and not be threatened or feel like I'm threatening others, right? It's just, hey, let's just be, right?
Yeah. That puzzle piece of perspective that gets exchanged in those moments too, especially with those who are so assumptive of others. There's so much judgment. And when you're able, it's a deep satisfaction that really just, you can't even go into words when you see someone like that grow and empower themselves with a newfound perspective, that shift, and to know that you're like, hey, I didn't react in a certain way that maybe I would have reacted like 10 years ago. It's just like, wow, like it's almost that test on your end of the compassion and the letting go. Yeah.
It's so interesting because Grandpa always reminds me, this is not about you. This is not about you. Okay. This is about helping. Okay. And maybe they're not going to come back to you, but you're going to give them a little shift and send them on their way. And guess what, Joselito? That's enough. Really, Huelo? That's enough. Really. And that's enough. And it feels good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When
even you hear it, even you saying it, it's just like, it resonates. It resonates because when you experience your firsthand facilitating someone's growth and I don't know, just to see you and your journey and just where you've been in that roller coaster and be able to help someone and to be that light just to show the way for so many others is like, to me, it's just like, oh, it's so powerful.
But we can't do that. Healers need healing too. Facilitators,
Yeah.
all of us, we're seeking that clarity to go beyond and to find and to push ourselves beautifully and be in the wonderment of it and go, this is beautiful. This is beautiful. How I connect with myself is beautiful, and it is enough. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
One of the things that I would always teach my students in dance class was you go past your fingertips. Don't stop the movement here in the wrist. Okay. Okay. Go tap the heart, boom, past the fingertips. So that when you're on that stage or when you're in that light,
I like that.
you go beyond. You go, don't worry, it's not gonna fade away, disappear. You're just giving that, protect it, right?
Yeah.
And glow with it, you know?
Ooh. Glow with it. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, this aspect of even, I guess you would say, owning your sexuality and the growing up in Texas aspect has me. It's just like, it's almost like you were thrown in just like this complete like polarizing dualistic situation, this wild seesaw, and was just like, all right, find your center.
Find it. Let's go play seesaw. I remember I was on a playground one time. I was in kindergarten and there was a bunch of little girls and my mother was with some of her friends and she goes, oh, look at those pretty little girls, mijo. Which one are you gonna marry? And there was a little white little Texan boy with red hair and a bunch of freckles. Okay. I mean, he couldn't have been whiter. Okay. And like the epitome, right? Like bien gringo, right? And I go, I'm going to marry him, Mom. And she freaked out because I outed myself at 5 years old in front of everybody. So you're not going to tell me I didn't know? Okay, come on now, you know?
Yeah.
But Texas, now that I look at Texas, it was when we moved to Salt Lake City, Utah to become better Mormons.
Wow.
I thought it was going to be like the Golden Gates. You know, everybody was going to be in covered wagons. It was so whitewashed in my mind and what they were putting into my brain. And that's what my mom and my dad weren't seeing, that I was like, oh my gosh, wait a minute. Where's the Virgen? Where's the way my grandfather prays? Where's that? You know? It was just completely different. However, when I look at Texas now, I go, wow, everything that I thought was so heavy in Texas doesn't even know I'm there. Texas doesn't even know I'm there.
Wow.
That I'm not there. So why am I carrying that? That came later. That came later. Okay.
But that seed was planted, just that.
Yep.
Yet it's that journey that I see, and as really just getting to know you always unfolds, I always see the parallels of these just like powerhouses of people that cross paths. And in terms of your own journey, it resonates on mine in such a deep level of that early exposure to this really profound understanding of spirituality, of the inner looking, of the intangible, of our connection with earth and ancestors. And it was almost that you had to go off into the woods and really find your way back home. And it was that road of appreciation and really recognizing what we already had and fostering that and owning that and coming to fully love it. So when I see yours, it's just like, dude, this is wild. Like, this journey's wild because it's just starting. It's just getting going. Like, it's beautiful to see it blossoming and just to know, like, the amount of adversity you've overcome, man.
So I did write a book on memoirs, right? And it's going to be out soon. I don't really have the date, but that one is called El Tejanito Más Bonito, my queer little life. And that's from 1965 to 1979. Now I'm writing another book after that. I've already started that one. And that one is called Boys, Disco, and the Holy Ghost. Woo, China City. Boys, Disco, and the Holy Ghost. Because you got to remember, I was that dancer. Fame, we're going to live forever. All of that, papi. I was in that, you know, and being in Salt Lake City, moving into Salt Lake City and understanding the queerity and how much gay was around all of this and how many people were going to church, but going to the East Room, the nightclub, underground. Oh yeah, we're talking about elders. We're talking about big older men from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints going and getting their gay on, okay? And sitting at that church the next day with their wives. And so talk about the thick skin that we had to build, that, you know, to just, and I'm just waiting, like, can someone just please say something to me right now so that I can out you in front of the whole congregation? Because I was that kind of a queer. I would do that shit. I would.
Yeah.
I mean, if I had the opportunity, because y'all have messed with mine. Ooh, child, that protectiveness, you had to have that gay, thick, that Latino,
fierceness.
Thick, okay. I'm more woman than you will ever be and more man. You know, I'm more woman than you will ever get and more man than you will ever be, honey, okay? So we knew all of those one-liners, right?
Yeah.
Because we had to survive, Pato. We had to survive. And it was our mechanism. And that was our escape. Those little clubs, those intimacies, those big old drag queens with the Nerf titties, you know, with a cigarette.
Yeah.
Hey, little Chicano boy, get over here. You know, just beautiful people that protected me in that whole realm of my queerity, and not understanding that in my immediate family, it was not okay. I didn't know that the rest of my family was okay with that.
Wow.
I didn't know that my cousins loved me. I separated myself from all of them because I was led to believe that they didn't want anything to do with me because of my lifestyle.
So I have one big question for you here in that aspect of how did you learn to open up to love again after closing people off in that way?
I have to really honestly say, how did I start loving again? Well, it comes from, where did I feel the love source more? Where do I feel? I feel it from my abuelo and my abuela. Okay.
Yeah.
And I go, I say this, and it's pissed my folks off quite a bit before, but you know, and that's okay. We're not going to make everybody happy. That's okay. But we don't have to kiss ass either. Okay. You can take, and I know this sounds hard, but I think that if you're on a spiritual level or in a loving level, you can get it, or you can get me. You can take my mom and my dad away from me at any point in time, but you can't take my grandmother and my grandfather away from me. And that's because they were always there, and they're still here, and they're not even on the planet. Okay, they're not even on the planet. I'm reassured, and it doesn't mean that I don't love my folks. But how do I love again with that tenderness of my grandmother? Ándale, mijito, vente por acá, guiándome. So when I learned about love, when I started accepting. Remember, I talked a little earlier about how do you convince someone that you're made of love? Right? Now I'm convinced that I'm made out of that. So I started loving and loving and loving more and loving more. And then I forgave myself. When I forgave myself for giving all of this baggage to little Joselito, little Jody. Wow. And little Jody was just bright-eyed, like, we got productions to do. Come on, let's go. And the beautiful thing about little Jody he says to me in a meditation, he says, you've done a lot of shows in your life. You've written some musicals. You've done some things. Okay? He goes, let's start to work on the production of you now.
Oh.
Yeah, let's work on your production. And then
Love
he
that.
shows up in his tight red shorts, a clipboard, and he was like, okay, who's gonna star in your show? What's your soundtrack? What is the love around you? How are you gonna explain it? How are you gonna be involved in it? How are we gonna mold this, papi? Because now it's the production of you.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to tell people. What's your production? Ooh, what is that? Right?
How's your divine film gonna unfold?
Yes, exactly. Absolutely. Because we're made of that beautiful stuff. We're made of that incredible stuff. And I just feel that these are the times to walk in the light more than ever. More than
100%.
ever. Like I'm saying, y'all, don't wait till you're 57 to discover this. You know, I mean, it took me, it was in my 40s when I'm trying to figure out all of it. But when I came into my power was about 2 years ago about the healing, because you got to remember, you don't want to lie to people. You don't want to be a hoax. You don't want to, that's not what we're about. Okay.
I love it. I love it.
I'm going to tell you the truth.
And that's the one thing that I have to say is the truth of all truths. If you have to impart our listeners with a final piece of insight from the being Joselito himself, what's your words?
My word is be authentic to you, yourself, to love and learn, most importantly, cómo te perdonas. How do you forgive yourself for carrying all of the things that were given to you that you don't need to carry anymore, babies. Y'all are made out of love, light, and happiness. We're about connecting and sharing and loving and giving. We're about getting big in love. Don't forget that's what you're made out of. The thing to remember too is everything that you thought was so important in your past doesn't even know you exist. All of that negativity, okay? It doesn't even know you're there. And you're carrying that. Mommies and papis and beautiful souls and beings, be you, be authentic to yourself.
Yeah.
The books are gonna get you so far. The videos are gonna get you so far, but your heart, babies, that's gonna get you the furthest. So I always say, and that's what I told you when you walked in, right, Papi? Right?
Oh, yeah.
Do it your way. We want you, okay?
Yeah.
We already know how Joe does his thing, okay? We want you. And those are my words, but I also want to say it's an honor to just, I used to record myself and pretend I was in little radio shows like this. Hello and welcome, you know? And look at, thank you. Like, thank you for holding this space for us. Thank you. Man. Thank you for that background, for that joy that you bring to us during the circle, to, you know, down to Rusty washing the feet and the beautiful ceremonies. Thank you for honoring the ceremonies is what I want to say.
Oh, Joselito, I love you, man. It's been a real one.
You too. Yes, amigo. So
and we love you too, listeners.
So absolutely, absolutely.
So I guess with that, thanks again for coming on Creatives Chat. If you have a moment, you can stick around for the after show. But from here, roll the outro.
Outro.
Thanks again to our sponsors for making this show possible. Thank you, We Are Historically, for your conscious human apparel. Shop online at wearehistorically.com.
Raise your vibration and energize your life with specialized Fibonacci tuning forks to deepen meditations and empower self-healing. Get your vibrational sound tools for personal enhancement at energybodytuners.com.
Another creative art production by Retro Earth Studio.
The one thing that always comes across with yourself is just the authenticity. You know, it's that self-knowing and self-awareness that I've always found is an incredibly powerful trait of just people and beings that are really tapped in and aligned. It's like they know their own beingness. It's just like, yes, and you can feel that. So for me, it was just like feeling the emotions. I mean, it's already been like a wild emotional week, but just feeling the energy from just like the palm tree, that hit. That hit, because I know exactly that moment when life lets you say, it's okay, you're suffering. We got you. And like,
And see, what I got too out of this was I would say things and then I would pick up on the meanings that they meant now. Like,
That concludes this episode of Creatives Chat. Thank you for watching our show. Click the bell button to get notified of future episodes. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Cool.
And with that, everybody, thank you for joining us on Creatives Chat. We'll see you next episode.
Thanks for tapping in.